Can I just ask a quick question? The mining industry is one of the largest taxpayers in Australia. I've been a taxpayer myself for much of the last 45 years, and some of my tax money went to supporting Aboriginal people across Australia, and I'm delighted about that. But 45 years later, people are still demonstrating in the streets. I'm just wondering, when are we going to see some progress from the recipients of taxpayer money in terms of doing things for themselves? Is that a fair question or an unfair question?
Are you targeting in that question First Nations people, Aboriginal people, slackers?
I'm not targeting anyone.
But is that the group you're specifically talking about?
Well, there are demonstrators here saying, if I understand it, that there shouldn't be mining on Aboriginal land. Is that one of the messages that's being put forward?
That's one of the messages, but my friend Alan here is from Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
And
I remember Oktedi was a very unfortunate situation, and redress should have occurred in relation to that. But the question remains, mining is one of the economic powerhouses of Australia, which...
But is it for the communities when Australian mining companies are operating in other parts of the world?
Is it okay, did you say?
Is it an economic powerhouse for communities in Papua New Guinea?
Look, I'm not intimately familiar with the economic upsides and downsides in Papua New Guinea.
So are we benefiting?
Sorry?
Are we in Australia benefiting from the forced evictions of people from their lands, from the pollution of their waterways? So we have to question what we benefit as privileged white people.
Excuse me.
As privileged people here, are we benefiting on the deaths in some cases, on the brutal rapes of women in other cases, of the pollution of significant rivers or waterways, also people's land who've got connection to their land for thousands of years. So are we benefiting on the destruction and despair of other people because our mining companies are there? That I guess is a question that also needs to be put out there as a complete story about the mining industry. Because the ideology of extraction is not sustainable, and it never will be. And in Australia, yes, we may have benefited, but I think we can see pretty clearly that a lot of Aboriginal people haven't. And you may say, oh, but we've given them everything. But when you take someone's land away, you take their language away, you take their culture away, that's actually everything.
All right,
so
well,
money can replace
I personally have not done any of those things.
I'm not targeting you, I'm talking mining industry.
Look,
You're just asking really good questions.
My overall view is that no one living in Australia today should be entitled to any special benefit or recognition based solely on their race. That's my on their race. Now I appreciate there are people in the community.
When you're standing on land that was stolen, you have to really question
I didn't steal it. I didn't steal it, and
but your privilege has been built on the theft of that. You know that it's been built on the genocide of the first people, one of the oldest living cultures on earth. So, and I'm not having to go at you because I own that as well.
Okay.
But I guess if we can understand that our privilege has been built on that might give us a little sense of understanding why it's difficult for a lot of Aboriginal communities still to survive and be happy about it necessarily. And there's a lot of Aboriginal people who have worked really hard and are trying to
moved
do the
on.
best for their communities.
And moved on.
Not moved on. They still hold a lot of grief. There's a lot of intergenerational trauma, but the mining industry has been a big player in that, of course. And have the benefits really gone back to those communities in the way the communities wanted it to be? So I think the question is about free, prior, and informed consent.
I'm just in the way a little bit here.
Which we've signed on to UN agreements that communities have freely informed, and that there's prior consent before any development can happen on their lands. Has that really happened? That's a big question.
There are portions of Australia where a title has passed to the local Aboriginal people, and they're entitled to control what happens on their land. So that's most everyone's view.
Title? because native title was amended dramatically in the 90s away from what it really was about. So
Okay.
actually it becomes more of an open door for mining companies. And I'm speaking from experience
Yeah.
working in Wiradjuri country for over a decade with community that didn't want a gold mine in their lake bed.
And some people
and
within the community
they-
did, if I understand it correctly.
5 people sold out on that mine from the whole Wiradjuri nation.
Okay. Look, thank you
And
very
that's-
much for your
that's
time.
evidence,
Can
so-
I just, in closing, mention I came to an event down in this very building, a bit further down, in November last year. Black Lives Matter in Conversation. Did you come to that by
I
any
don't
chance?
live in Melbourne. So no.
Okay, and I paid $15 pensioner rate to attend the conference, and I got there early so I could get a front seat so I could see and hear what was being said, and hopefully to be able to ask a question at question time, which I expected to occur, and it did. They had question time. And the moderator said, we've got a roving microphone, you'll be able to ask a question. And I put my hand up, sitting in the front row, and he said, at this point we're going to be giving preference to people of colour to ask a question. And he said it's not segregation, and there was a bit of a ripple of laughter around the place. But I put my hand down because I was made unwelcome in this at this public event for which I had paid good money.
Why do you think they did that?
Because there is latent racism in
There is no such thing as reverse racism.
I said latent
Yeah, but
racism in many quarters.
Have you considered that in our society, most spaces, white voices are incredibly prevalent, and that maybe in this space they wanted to make a little difference? And I understand it's uncomfortable. I'm white. I know the uncomfortability of what that feels like. But imagine being a person of colour and having to feel that every day.
Just
My friend here has
Yep.
a business visa into this
Yep,
country.
yep.
He just entered again into Darwin. They took him aside and they questioned him. The only reason he was let go is because a white colleague came up and said, he's with us, he's been doing human rights training. That just happened.
well, if he's got a visa, he should be allowed to enter. But you know,
the matters in our borders.
the border. Let me tell you,
And he's Papua New Guinea, our closest country, a former colony. We fought in the war. The Papua New Guineans saved many of our men on the front.
just speaking of what. Sorry.
And I know that Australia is built because of a lot of mining activities back in my literally.
His home was demolished by 2 Australian companies. Downtown Port Moresby.
So I've got a lot of.
Look, I'm sure there are occasions when things happen which are unfortunate, unfair in some respects.
And outright illegal.
Look, I don't know the details of every transaction that's occurred, but can I just mention one? You mentioned an issue at a border. My mother is 91 years old. A couple of years ago, she lives in Florida currently. A couple of years ago, she came to visit us in Melbourne, and when I went out to Tullamarine to put her on the plane to fly back to the States, she was held up at screening because she had had a double hip replacement, and the alarm went off, and they frisked my, at the time, 89-year-old mother. So unfortunate things happen at borders, and I take your experience into account. But it's in some respects, sometimes people are acting unfairly. Sometimes they're just doing what the policies are. But unfortunate outcomes result from my mother and for you.
I guess the question is, I can enter Papua New Guinea, I can walk into Papua New Guinea and get a visa on arrival. You have to pay lots of money to get a visa to come into this country.
I have spoken with people who have come to Australia recently from Scotland who had to pay between $50,000 and $100,000 for their visa to migrate to Australia. So it happens to people from all backgrounds, all races, all religions.
No, but if you,
And there are people who say it's unfair. Well,
people in Papua New Guinea don't have $20,000, $50,000 to
mate, good luck to you. Hope it goes well for you.
No,
Thank you
good.
very
Can I
much.
just ask you a question? It's really important to have
Okay.
these
Bill
conversations.
Thompson is my name.